Deni has been incredible at now getting to the line, which that's a skill. A lot of people can't do this.
He'll lift off, another triple, got it. Deni, nothing but net, barely.
I came in as the starting small forward, and I kind of need to play defense. It's not like I came with a skill set that I had from Europe because I had to adjust. I didn't have the ball as much.
I'm working hard. In the end of the day, I just want to put Israel on the map. A lot of people to make them proud.
Only 4 players in the NBA are averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists this season. 3 of them are MVPs. The 4th is Deni Avdija.
The floor behind the back of Boyd Smith into the lane to the glass.
And here's the problem. You watch basketball. You think you understand the league. You should already know who this is. But Deni Avdija is putting up all-star production in Portland, and he's still talked about like a role player. That's not an accident. The league isn't bad at finding talent. It's bad at knowing what wins. And Deni Avdija isn't a breakout. He's a correction.
Lost the handle on it. Avdija the other way. Long leap pass. Sharp up top on the magic.
If this feels sudden, it's only because most people are seeing him in this role for the first time. The signals themselves weren't subtle. His father, Zufar Avdija, captained the Yugoslavian national team in the 1980s. His mother was an athlete too. He grew up in an environment where basketball wasn't about freedom first, it was about responsibility before expression. Reading the floor before attacking it, making decisions early before the advantage disappeared, and living with the outcome. And by 16, he wasn't being eased into that responsibility. He was already playing real rotation minutes for Maccabi Tel Aviv, a club that only gives teenagers that kind of runway if they can keep possessions intact. Go back and watch the tape. The pace is already under control. He recognizes the help before it commits. He moves the ball before the defense finishes rotating. The game has already slowed down for him.
3-point shot, Avdija got it. He is full of confidence.
By 19, the resume matched the film. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists on the way to FIBA U20 MVP, leading Israel to back-to-back gold medals while handling primary creation duties against older competition. And if you revisit the early film with that context, the thought line is clear: timing, leverage, decision-making. The parts of the game that determine whether a possession survives its first breakdown.
Another go screen. Avdija! Good night! Lila top! Big time throwdown!
I still have a long journey to come, but it wasn't easy. A lot of ups and downs in this short basketball career of mine in Europe.
Draft night exposed the first real contradiction. Teams looked at a 6'9" playmaker and called him low ceiling. Not because the film was lacking, but because they decided what kind of player they were looking at before they decided what the film was showing. You heard Mike Smits at the start of the video calling it years early. He wasn't guessing, he was reading the same film everybody else had access to. But he was one of the few who trusted what it was actually showing.
I think he has a chance to become not just a 3-and-D type of wing, but a guy who can also be a secondary playmaker as well. I love his upside.
Others made a different choice. They fixated on the flaws, especially the left hand, and defaulted to the safer interpretation. A wing, someone whose value would depend on whether the jumper came around. That wasn't a lack of information. It was a preference for the easier story.
Deni's left hand is also a problem. In general, he seems to avoid it at all costs when he's finishing at the rim, but it's very limiting and visible in the playmaking area.
What that story ignored was how much of the game he was already handling. At 19, he wasn't a project. He was a FIBA U20 MVP with real defensive production and real creation duties against high-level competition. The information wasn't divided. The interpretation was. And when the league had to choose, it chose the safer story, the one that reduced uncertainty instead of the one the film kept pointing toward. Once that version was chosen, it dictated everything that came next. From day one in Washington, the role reflected the version they saw. They took a 6'9" creator and used him like a spare part. Stand in the corner, space the floor, take the toughest assignment on the scouting report. That usage wasn't random. It followed directly from how he'd already been labeled. And here's where the contradiction shows up on the floor. While the offense ran past him, the defense ran straight through him. Luka one night, Tatum the next, Jimmy, Giannis, every archetype, every role, and by the numbers, he handled it, finishing in the 96th percentile in defensive versatility. That meant he was trusted to solve every defensive problem without being trusted to initiate offense.
Right to James Harden. Harris with it. The left-hand layup was blocked by Deni. Niang back out to Embiid, who thought about the three. Good strip there by Avdija as the Wizards come up with the ball.
Under Wes Unseld Jr., his usage stayed at role player levels, 16%, then 20%. A slow crawl, even as his defensive responsibility expanded, and the specific parts of his game that only work when they're prioritized never became a focus. He arrived with experience running pick and roll, reading the second defender, hitting the weak side pass, keeping the possession alive. In Washington, those touches sat near the bottom among forwards. His grab-and-go possessions, the moments where he secures the rebound, pushes immediately and collapses the defense before it's set, showed up in flashes, not as a foundation. So when he was allowed to touch the paint more consistently, the effect was immediate. In March 2024, he averaged 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists on nearly 70% true shooting. Not by changing his game, but by being involved earlier in possessions.
Gisbert out to Deni. Deni triggers one as the shot clock expires. Deni Avdija from distance.
As soon as that stretch made his offensive ceiling harder to ignore, his role changed again. He was moved.
Basically, it was tough, but I like the challenges. I like that I don't get everything right away, that I need to work hard for it, you know?
The NBA doesn't miss players like Deni Avdija because it lacks information. It misses them because of how it filters information. Over time, evaluation narrowed towards traits that are easiest to identify, measure, and project. Shot creation over structure, volume over organization. That approach is efficient and incomplete. So when players arrive whose value shows up in how positions are stabilized rather than dominated, the evaluation model doesn't flag them correctly. The issue isn't misunderstanding, it's selection.
It changed our game. It really did. I mean, he was getting Ant open, getting Shea open, getting guys open.
Despite the evidence, a lot of people try to explain what happened in Portland as development, even a coaching breakthrough. What that misses is how unstable the environment actually became.
Former Pistons star and NBA Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups arrested, indicted on charges of illegal gambling.
The morning after their first game of the season, Portland's head coach was arrested by the FBI on charges tied to fixing poker games. Overnight, whatever structure the team had was gone. There was no clear system to lean on. Responsibility concentrated around the players who could keep the team from falling apart. Instead of dipping, Avdija's numbers climbed, usage, drives, efficiency, while the team stayed functional.
But in the end of the day, you know, we're just hoping the best for him, and we got to keep moving forward, and no team's going to feel sorry for us.
The tone carried through the organization. Even before the season settled, the front office narrowed who the offense would run through. Ayton was bought out. Simons was traded for Drew Holiday. 20 points a night came off the roster, not to add spacing, but to reduce volatility. Portland didn't need to reinvent anything. They simplified where responsibility lived and let the game settle around it. Once the runway opened, the numbers followed. 27% usage, 63% true shooting, and it wasn't empty volume. He was living at the line, a top-tier free throw rate on nearly 10 attempts a night, the exact signal teams rely on when projecting stardom. With the ball in his hands, the tape shifts. He's no longer drifting toward the rim. He's making his decision as soon as the defense collapses, initiating contact on his terms and finishing through it. When Portland let him run pick and roll, the returns were immediate. Over 1.1 points per possession as the handler, with a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's finishing over 60% going left, up from the high 40s. Even the misses matter. Nearly 19% turn into second chances, because his drives pull the rim protector out of position for Donovan Clingan.
Avdija will come to it. He draws two sets of eyes up top, goes behind the back, double pump, flip it up and in! Deni Avdija with a brilliant move. He is fouled and he will head to the
And that is what that looks like on the floor.
minute mark with the Blazers leading by 5. Avdija rolls it inside, Ayton at the cup. To the out of backcourt, bouncing ahead to Sharp, has a lane for the two-hand finish.
You see that? That's team basketball. That's advantage creation. That's the stuff that never trends but wins games. Over a 13-game stretch, Avdija averaged 26.8 points, 11.2 rebounds, and 5.5 assists on sustained efficiency. And his usage climbed into primary creator territory. His turnover rate dropped, a combination that almost never happens when responsibility scales this fast. Against Miami, he was plus 24 in his minutes, and the Blazers were negative 29 when he sat. Oklahoma City came in on a 10-game win streak. Portland beat them with Avdija controlling tempo 26-10-9 against the league's best defensive structure at the time. Opponents adjusted accordingly. New Orleans scouting report labeled him the go-to guy. Coaches don't do that unless the matchup is already a problem.
Smith with 15 off the bench. Avdija into the lane. Laid it up and in. Deni getting in this game. Grant knifes in, kick it here to Avdija. He lines up a three and nailed it.
Across a tanking roster, a coaching scandal, and a rebuilt rotation, one thing held. When Avdija carried responsibility, possession settled. When he controlled the ball, the offense stayed organized. This is where the story stops being about one player, because what Deni Avdija is doing doesn't just challenge how he was evaluated, it reveals that the league is still weighing the wrong skills when games stop being clean. For years, teams said the parts of his game wouldn't scale, not loud enough, not obvious enough, not built for the way stars are supposed to look. But what's showing up now isn't new, it's simply no longer being boxed out. What the league overlooked wasn't upside or talent, it was function. The ability to raise the expected value of a possession, create advantages without hijacking them, and keep an offense alive when structure breaks down. Those skills don't dominate highlight reels, they don't spike draft boards, and they don't fit isolation-first templates. So players who don't match the step-back mixtape-friendly archetype get mislabeled, even when their impact points directly to primary responsibility. And that leads to the real verdict. The league keeps rewarding what looks dominant and missing what actually controls games. That's not a blind spot, that's a pattern. And Deni Avdija didn't break it by changing who he is. He broke it by making the consequences impossible to ignore. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more and check out my Luka Doncic breakdown that explores the same idea from the other side. What happens when decision-making is recognized early instead of corrected late? As always, thanks for watching.